Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. My name is Qelbinur. I'm former president, and I have the honor to moderate this event today on behalf of PAC Committee, Professional Activities Committee, which organized press conference at this club. Let me introduce my guest. First, from the right side, Ms. Kanae Doi. She is Japan Director, Human Rights Watch, and to her right is Ms. Noor Al-Kalb. Noor Sadiki. She is a concentration camp survivor. And to her right is Mr. Dolkun. He is president of the World Uyghur Congress. And to his right is Mr. Arya Tsewang Gyalpo. He's representative of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama for Japan. And to his right is Mr. Olhunud Daichin. He's vice chairman for South Mongolian Congress. And they will give us their insights about the issues in their region in China or West China. And they will talk about, each one will talk for about 5 minutes, including 2 will be with translation, and that will be followed by Q&A. We have online people watching us, and they can also ask questions. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to start our session. Doi-san will start first. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kanae Doi, Japan Director of Human Rights Watch. Human Rights Watch の日本の代表をしておりますドイと言います。今日はちょっと日本語で失礼いたします。ヒューマン・ライツ・ウォッチは世界約100カ国の人権問題を監視していますが、中国政府による人権侵害というのはその深刻さと規模において抜きん出ています。
So we, Human Rights Watch, is monitoring the human rights related issues of around 100 nations, but for the severity and the scale, the human rights violation done by the Japanese government is quite substantial and significant.
By Chinese government ですね。Yes. そして、中国全土において、人権活動家に対する弾圧、表現の自由に対する弾圧、大量監視などが行われていますが、今日いらっしゃるスピーカーたちのいらっしゃっている地域、新疆ウイグル地域ですとかチベット、南モンゴルなどについては特別な文化的宗教的な迫害が行われています。
We see various incidents, including the suppression of the human rights activists, the suppression of the expression, and mass surveillance, and particularly those the regions that we are having a representatives today, the Uyghur and Tibetan and southern Mongolia. We do have extensive violation of human rights as we speak.
はい、今日はその中でも、特に、新疆ウイグル自治区について、8月31日に、国連が画期的な報告書を出したということに触れたいと思います。
And I would like to talk about this outstanding United Nations report published on August 31st, 2022, about the Xinjiang, the Uyghur region.
はい、初めてのことですけれども、国連の人権高等弁務官が新疆ウイグル地域について、報告書を発表しまして、ここで起きている人権侵害が人道に対する罪を構成しうるほどの人権侵害であるということを、報告しました。
And then this was the very first report that was published by OHCHR about this Xinjiang Uyghur region, and they actually defined it to be a victim account, and then it was considered to be a crime level. The violation was what they reported in that.
はい、この報告書をクオートしますと、法や政策によって行われているウイグルその他の主としてイスラムを信仰する集団のメンバーへの恣意的差別的貢献の規模は個人および集団が享受する基本的権利の制限や剥奪に照らすと国際犯罪、特に人道に対する罪を構成しうる、引用終わりですねと結論付けています。
So the report contains victim This is a quote that she just wrote out, and then I'm reading as I believe to be the report. the substantiate and mass arbitrary detention, torture, cultural persecution, forced labor, and another serious human rights violation, and recommends that states, apologies. Doi-san, could you read out the quote in English? Sorry, I don't have the exact quote.
Sorry, let me do that later. I don't have the quote in English now with me. Maybe later I can add it. で、この報告書なんですけれども、現在、この非常に画期的な報告書ですが、まさに、今週、そして来週まで、国連で人権理事会が開催中です。
And related to this report, currently we are seeing the UN Human Rights Council happening this week and until the next week.
で、ここで、この報告書を、この人権高等弁務官による報告書を国連の人権理事会が受け取るかどうか、そして検討するかどうか、これが決議にかけられることになっています。
And whether this OHCHR report's been received by this council and be debated as their topic is to be discussed and to be resoluted.
この非常に重要な報告書が国連で検討されるということは非常に大事なことなので、日本政府および世界中の国連人権理事会の理事国の国々がこれを支持することというのが非常に重要だと考えます。
It is critical that this matters be discussed in this council. So Japanese government plus the members of this UN Human Rights Councils be supporting that the debating happening in this council is pretty critical.
以上です。
First, thank you very much, Japanese Foreign Correspondent Club, hosting for this press conference today. Well, Uyghur genocide is one of the most challenging issues that the world faces today. And over the past few years, this crisis deteriorated significantly. But however, this Chinese government policy towards the Uyghurs, Kazakh, and other people in East Turkestan is not new. And since the 1949, Chinese Communist Army occupied this country, then discrimination, assimilation policy continually exists all the time. But 2014, after Xi Jinping took the power, China's government's policy towards Uyghur assimilation, discrimination policy into genocidal policy. So since 2016, Chinese government implementing and the China government called as re-education camp, but actually it is 21st century concentration camp. We can estimate now at least 3 million Uyghur, Kazakh, and other Turkic-speaking people are suffering in concentration camp. They are subject to sexual abuse and mass sterilization, forced abortion. And also today, one of the another issue, forced labor and slavery work. Maybe you know today is 22% of the cotton globally from Uyghur forced labor. In China, 85% cotton from the forced labor. And the solar penalty and this and several international brands and has continually benefit from the forced labor. And another issue today, and the Chinese government attacked and unique Uyghur identity, Uyghur culture, Uyghur language, and Uyghur identity. And also strongly attacks the religious belief. According to the Chinese constitution, very clearly mentioned Article 36, everyone have a right of believe or not believe in religious. But today in China, you have a right, don't believe religious, but no right believe in religious, particularly in Turkestan for the Uyghur Muslim people. But however, today is Chinese Christian also attacked a lot, and the Tibetan Buddhists, and even Falun Gong as well. So, and another critical issue, at least 1 million Uyghur children separate from the parents. No, they are subject to indoctrinate and change the name and the denounce national and the religious identity. Chinese governments not only stop and the persecution, not only the persecution of the Uyghurs and the Kazakh in Turkestan, but also China's long arm are even to the transnational repression. Today, China used its economic power and diplomatic power to try to monopolize it international system. We have witnessed UN human rights system misuse Interpol and some other international system. So such a horrible situation is going today, but still most of some country continue silence. You know, just 1 month before, 31 of August, just 30 minutes before finish her team, Michelle Bachel, High Commissioner of the Human Rights of the United Nations, the Uyghur report was published. Actually, this report was finalized September 2021. After 1 year later, and this report was published. This report actually is not really explain every horrible situation for the Uyghur today, our homeland. But still very significant because Chinese government spreads the fake news, trying to manipulate the UN system, undermine some other country, and hiding the reality, cheating the world, and spreading the misinformation. But this report is very weak of the language, but however, at least brought quite a lot of impact today. So we have witnessed just before I'm coming here, I was in the Geneva. I was attending 51 section of the Human Rights Council, and this time quite a lot of country and speaking of this issue. So now is the Chinese government taking place and implemented genocide. So many media report was published. You know, so many camp survivors. Qelbinur Sidik, one of the camp survivors, she will be talked later. And several camp survivors make testimony. Several national parliament, European Parliament, US Congress, and international media. And quite a lot of independent research institute like ASPI, some other already use Chinese resource, satellite image, published the report. And some leaked document, for example, New York Times report, Chinese Kabul, Karakash list, Aksu list, and the latest leaked document is Xinjiang police file. And show clearly is the Chinese government and implemented genocide and the crime against the humanity for the Uyghur. But quite a lot of country is continuing silence because of the economic interest, and some country and corporately complicity of the Chinese government for ongoing genocide. But however, we have seen positive steps as well. So far, 9 national parliament, United States, Canada, United Kingdom, French, Lithuania, Czech, Netherlands, Belgium, and Ireland. This national parliament recognized Uyghur genocide motion, and also this year, June, European Parliament also recognized Uyghur genocide and the crime against humanity. This is a good step. US Congress approved 2 bills, Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act and the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. This is into the law. This is a good step, but only a few countries, the European Union or United States, is not good enough to stop this ongoing genocide. That's why all humanity, particularly the country, signed 1948 Convention on Genocide, has a legal obligation to stop the ongoing genocide, and all human beings and civil society have a moral obligation to stop on the ongoing genocide. This time we are visiting, and my delegation visiting Japan this time. As you know, in the February 1, Japanese Parliament adopted one resolution and huge human rights violation, abuse by the Chinese government against Uyghurs. But it is not human rights violation, you know, because human rights violation, human rights problem exists everywhere, but level is different. Today, some kind of human rights violation may be happening, exists in Germany, United States, European country, even Japan. But genocide, crime against humanity is not taking place everywhere. Today, 21st century, taking place for the Uyghur and in China and in Turkestan. So that's why we are coming this time to the Japan. Today we have a meeting as lawmakers, parliament member in the Japanese parliament. We are asking them, we are pushing them, should Japanese parliament recognize Uyghur genocide, and also Japanese government should be take more action, concrete action, because only made a statement or motion and empty promise not enough to stop ongoing genocide. So that's why Japan is the third largest economic power in the world, and also model of the democracy, freedom expression, rule of law in the world, and particularly Asia. That's why, and the Japanese government, Japanese parliament has some obligation to more actively engage in this Uyghur genocide. This way only is the way to stop ongoing genocide. Thank you very much.
Next, please.
Sorry, can I refer to the missing translation about the report Issa-san was referring to? Very briefly. Sorry, the interpreter could not interpret the quote I referred to for good reason. So let me. The UN, Xinjiang UN report just Issa-san was referring to concludes quote, the extent of arbitrary and discriminatory detention of members of Uyghur and other predominantly Muslim groups pursuant to law and policy in context of restrictions and deprivation of more generally of fundamental rights enjoyed individually and collectively may constitute international crimes, in particular crimes against humanity. Quote ends. Thank you.
Next, please.
Konnichiwa, Tashidilek, and good afternoon. So it's a great honor to be here at the Tokyo Foreign Correspondent Clubs and to have an opportunity to speak about the Tibet and Uyghur and South Mongolia. So I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers also. So first, last time we had a seminar. So as I have mentioned in the previous seminar also, it has been more than 70 years that Chinese communist regimes, they occupied, invaded Tibet, East Turkestan, and South Mongolia. But even after these 70 years of occupations, these three countries have not become a part of China completely. So the reason for this is that the Chinese occupation was illegal, unjust, and very cruel and brutal. And more importantly, what I want to inform here is that we are different from China linguistically, culturally, and ethnically. We have been independent countries, historically, politically, and legally since ancient time. We are the countries who were brutally invaded by the communist China when they took power in China. And I would like to make a very important appeal to the members of the media here that the problems of Tibet, East Turkestan, and South Mongolia are not only about the human right, religious, and ethnicity. The problem is the same as that we see here today in the Ukraine. It is about an independent nation unjustly and brutally invaded by a neighboring dictatorships. So it happened 70 years before. Therefore, the occupation of these three countries by the Chinese Communist regime is against the international norms and the law. The problem of East Tibet and East Turkestan and South Mongolia needs to be viewed as an unresolved international issue. And yesterday's Tibet, Uyghur, and South Mongolia have now become today's Ukraine. If the international community continues to keep silent on these matters, tomorrow it will be Taiwan, Senkaku Island, Okinawa, and the northern territories of Hokpo-Ryodo. then it will not be a Japan's issue only, but also a problem of the countries around the South China Sea, Indo-Pacific region. This will greatly affect the peace not only in Asia, but around all over the world. So, when Tibet was an independent country, the borders with the India, Nepal, and Bhutan, they were the most peaceful borders in the world. But after the occupation of the Tibet by the Chinese communist regime, these borders have become a very dangerous area because of the constant intrusions by the Chinese communist regime. The areas have become full of military activities, and all these kind of military facilities has been installed there. The reason is that the Tibet, as a buffer state between India and China, has been occupied by China. So great scientist Albert Einstein has rightly said, the world will not be destroyed. The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. So we all need to think and take these words seriously and how we conduct regularly in our international contacts. Therefore, if we want to pass on a better and more peaceful world to our children and to the future generation, we all need to unite and join forces and raise our voice against the injustice, aggressions, and repressions of the dictatorships around the world. Therefore, it is very important to recognize that the problem of Tibet, Uyghur, and South Mongolia are not the problem of these three countries only, but the problem of all of us and the international community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please. Mr. Ms. Nurkalp. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, hürmetli hanımlar, efendiler. Ben Şarkı Türkistan, Ürümçi şehrinden Ceza Lagır şahidi Qelbinur Sidik bulman.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Qelbinur Sidik. I am from Urumqi, East Turkestan.
Ben 2017 yılı 3. aydan 9. aygacha Xitoy hukumatining majburlashi bilan Urumqi shahar Tsewang rayoni Tsangfangga joylashgan erlar kampusida 6 ay Xitoy til darsi o'tishga majburlandim.
So in 2017, from March until the September, I was forced to by the Education Ministry of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region to be a Chinese instructor, Chinese teacher at this Saibag regions, at this concentration camp at Saibag region.
Bu yerda 6 ay turish jarayonida intayin dahshatli zulmlarga va fojialarga shohid bo'ldim. Bu yerdagi tutqunlar quruq simotning ustida yotadi.
So I witnessed and saw by my own eyes that the brutality of the Chinese security, personal security, and the treatment, the brutal treatment of detainees at this camp.
Ularning putqunlari zanjirlangan va kishanlangan. Shu holda kamerlardan o'milab chiqib sinflarga kiratdi va o'milab kamerlarga chiqardi.
So they were shackled and handcuffed, all these detainees, and in this position they were forced to get out of their cells and go to the classes, and then come back also to their cells in that position with handcuffed and shackled.
Ular Xitoy saqchilarining arxil so'roqlari va qiyin qistoqlarga uchragandan sirt, yana noma'lum bo'lgan dorilarni yeydi, hukul urlatdi va ularning qoni ilinatdi.
In addition to torture by the Chinese and very terrible treatment by the Chinese guards, they were also forced to take some unknown medication and also injections.
Ben 2017 9. aydan 11. aygacha yani şu Urumqi shahar Tsewang rayoni Togunga joylashgan mana bu qiz ayollar kampusida 3 ay Xitoy til darsi o'tishga majburlandim. Ham bu yerda dahshatli zulmlarga shohid bo'ldim.
I was also in sorry, I just.
2017'de 9. aydan 11. aygacha Sayvaq rayonu Dolkun.
And also I was forced to be a teacher, Chinese teacher at the camp in Saibag region from September to November 2017.
Bu yer tutqunlarning bütün qız ayollarning hammasining çaşları tushirib etilgan, uchisiga mahbus kiyimi kiygan. Ularmı her düşenmi günlükte naməlum doğrularını içidi, hukulurdu ve ularını kanalıydı.
So this camp was all the detainees at this camp was female Uyghur women and girls, and of course other Turkic people, and they were on Mondays they were forced, every Monday they were forced to take some unknown medication.
Tutqun qız ayollarningki %90% 18 yaşdan 40 yaşgacha.
And most of the women who female detainees were aged between 18 to 40.
Şu yerdeki naməlum doğrular iş arqılıq bu yer bütün qız ayollar umumyüzlük adətləri toxtut etilgan.
So because of this unknown medication, all the women in this camp were, their monthly period was stopped. The menstruation was stopped. Yeah.
Qız ayollar yana so'roq jarayonida Xitoy saqchilariningki bosqinchilikka uchrab turdi va bosqinchilikdan keyingi har xil qiyin qistaqlarga uchraydi.
So the female women always were faced raped by the guards, and also I witnessed and heard they were gang raped by the security forces, and in addition to torture, in addition to humiliation and terrible treatment.
Meyli kampı lager işi olsun yoki sirtida olsun, sirtidagi nurg'un ayollarmi yana Xitoy saqchilarining majburlashi bilan tug'maslik operatsiyasi qilinadi va ularning uylariga majburiy Xitoy erlari tuqqan bo'lib, ashada datsantlikka uchrab turdi.
So this was not only the female detainees who were raped or faced terrible treatment by Chinese security forces. The women outside the camps also faced these treatment by the Chinese authorities, and even Chinese authorities sent Chinese male to the houses of the Chinese, the Uyghur women, Uyghurs, and they were the Uyghurs were had to welcome all these Chinese party officials who were sent by the Chinese authorities to the Uyghur homes, and they stayed, eat, and sleep in the same bed with the Uyghur women.
Uyghur qız ayolları yana majburiy o'zining bolalaridan ayirib etilgan, ular Xitoy erlariga tegishga majbur bo'ldi.
And Uyghur women, in addition, also they were forcefully sterilized, and also forced Uyghur women forced to marry Han Chinese men.
Men ashadagi Uyghur qız ayollarga o'xshashlam, mana bu uqtirishlarga asosan Urim shahar Tensan rayonida joylashgan Changloyanda majburiy tug'maslik operatsiyasi qilingan bir inson.
And I'm as a Uyghur woman, I was also forcefully sterilized by the Chinese authorities, and I'm also one of these Uyghur victims.
Bundan sırt yana Xitoy hokimiyati hozirgi koronadan foydalanib, karantin orqali Sharq Turkistonda umumyuzlik kishilarni shu ayirib davolaymiz deb, ularni ochliqdan o'ltirib, yana bir jinoyat o'tkazyapti.
And also now the Chinese authorities using this COVID-19 as an excuse, they are forcing the Uyghurs to stay in their homes, and they don't deliver anything to eat, and they were forced to now Uyghurs are starving to death by these very strict rules of COVID-19, which is not normal in other parts of the China.
Xitoy hokimiyati vatanimiz Sharq Turkiston shu zaminimizni besib olgandan tortib, ta hozir qadar, mush daqiqa qadar vatanimizda irqiy qirg'inchilikni to'xtatib qolgani yo'q.
So since since the occupation of this land by the Chinese communists in 1949, the Chinese authorities have been trying to eliminate the Uyghur people, and the persecution of Uyghur never stopped.
Eng axırda deydig'im, Yaponiya hukumatidan, Yaponiya parlamentidan kutadiganim shu Xitoydagi irqiy qirg'inchiliklarni e'tirof qilishini va qarorlarni chiqarishini, amaliy tadbirlarni qo'llanib, shu xalqimiz tugab ketishdan burun yaqinda yordamli bo'lishini umid qilaman.
So at the end, I would like to appeal to the Japanese government to take action to stop this ongoing genocide in my homeland and save my people before it's too late.
Muşundaq kuchlik jurnalist va muxbirlarning o'zining kuchli qalamlari orqali Yaponiya xalqining qo'zg'ishini ham bizga yordamli bo'lishini umid qilaman. Hammanglarga rahmat.
And I also ask the journalists who are present here and other journalists to help us to raise awareness by telling our stories, by spreading our stories to the Japanese people.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Last speaker, please. South Mongolia.
皆さんこんにちは。私は南モンゴル出身のOlhunud大臣と申します。南モンゴルという言葉を内モンゴルというように使う方が多くにいらっしゃいますでしょうが、これはあくまでも中国政府の使えた名前であります。
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Olhunud, Daichin, and I'm from southern Mongolia. Many people use the term Inner Mongolia instead of Southern Mongolia, but this is merely the game given by the Chinese government, the Inner Mongolia.
私たちは中国の内と外という分類は使いません。で、そういうのは私たちのモンゴルは2つに分断されたっていうのは今の現状であります。
Right, so we do not use the terms inside or outside for our land that the Chinese government uses. We use the name Southern Mongolia from the perspective that the country of the Mongols is now divided into two parts.
南モンゴルの苦難の歴史は、決定づけたのは、世界第二次大戦の中でのヤルタ会談です。この時当事者のモンゴル人がいない中、南モンゴルを終戦後に中国への併合させることを決定されました。
It was the Yalta Conference during the World War II that defined Southern Mongolia as a troubled history. There, in the absence of Mongols involved, the decision was made to annex Southern Mongolia to China after the war.
それ以来、南モンゴルを植民地化し、収託してきた中国共産党政府、支配の当初から南モンゴルの伝統的な遊牧文化を否定し続けてきました。
And since then, the Chinese Communist government has been expropriating Southern Mongolia as a colony. From the beginning of their rule, they have continued to deny the traditional nomadic culture of Mongolia.
とりわけ文化大学の中には、チベットとウイグルと全く同じように、南モンゴルでもジェノサイドが繰り広げられました。
Especially during the Cultural Revolution, ethnic genocide was waged against Uyghurs and Tibetans alike.
その時、多くのモンゴル人が虐殺されて、拷問されて、投獄された。で、中国共産党政府の当時の認めている数字にしても、3万人いる。で、その当時、牢屋から出てきて、後に、亡くなった。そして、拷問で障害者になった人の数を入れると、おそらく数十万単位になるでしょう。
So many were victimized in torture and imprisonment. The number of those who have been tortured and crippled or who died soon after being released from prison is probably in the hundreds and thousands.
それ以後も中国政府は南モンゴルに植民地化を支配してきたんですけれども、その開国開放という政策の後にも乱開発による環境破壊、そして最近になってモンゴル語で教育を受ける権利も奪われてしまったこと、その文化的ジェノサイドというべきであります。これが今は母語を奪われモンゴルの伝統が奪われたことをモンゴル人、それ以上にはモンゴル人ということはできないでしょう。
So the number I stated as hundreds of thousands. By the Chinese government's admission, only it's 30,000. And since then, the Chinese government has continued to regard southern Mongolia as a colony. And even after its reform and open door policy, it has continued to commit cultural genocide, including environmental destruction through overexploitation, and now a ban on a native language education. And deprived of their mother tongue and deprived of their Mongolian traditions, Mongolians will cease to be Mongolians.
植民地支配にしても、民族ジェノサイドにしても、この20世紀の人類の歴史の中でこれは負の遺産であります。それが今も世界の中で、しかも国連の常任理事国である中国は、こういうことをやっているということ自体では許してはいけません。これはチベット、ウイグル、南モンゴルの問題だけではなく、世界規模の問題でもあります。ということを訴えていきたいと思っております。
Both colonial rule and ethnic genocide are negative legacies of humanity in the 20th century, from the 20th century. We must not allow this to continue to be done in the world today and by a permanent member of the UN Security Council especially. I'd like to emphasize that this is not only a Tibetan or Uyghur or the Southern Mongolian issue, but a global issue.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'd like to open the floor to Q&A, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Rocky Swift with Reuters. A lot of global companies or brands have announced over the past couple of years they would pull out of Xinjiang or stop using Xinjiang products or cotton. But do you have any evidence or anecdotes of companies that are still using Xinjiang materials or labor? And can you tell us any of that evidence today?
Yes, there is still several international brands, for example, and I can tell you several names of some country, for example, Germany, Boss company, Adidas. This company continue use the Uyghur cotton from the Uzbekistan, from the Uyghurs. And there's some money. Only, as we know, a few international brands like H&M just stopped buying cotton from the Uyghur forced labor, but still, it's quite a lot of company continue use it. Even Boss a couple of months ago, they made a statement saying we have to continue buying the cotton from Uyghur forced labor. Yes.
Ilgun, please. Are you okay with that?
Hello, Ilgin Yorulmaz from BBC World Turkish. Thank you for being with us today. I have a question each for Dolkun, Kanae, Dori, and Qelbinur, Sidik, please. Very quickly, I will say, Kanae-san, the Xinjiang report, UN report, stopped short of saying genocide. And so what would prompt Japan to even go and ask for China to be sanctions against China? So what would it take for Japanese government to take this decision? Dolkun, Turkey of course, have ancestors and ethnic ties with Uyghur Turks. But in 2019, 2021, all the opposition's proposals to even investigate the genocide against Uyghurs, or these allegations at least, have been rejected by the ruling party. So this is like a contradiction to people outside Turkey. How do you respond to that? And Qelbinur-san, dehşet zulüm yaşamışsınız. Çocuklarla ilgili sormak istiyorum. Neler gördünüz çocuklarla ilgili? I will repeat in English so people can understand. You have seen some atrocities beyond belief. Can you tell us, as a teacher, you said you were supposed to teach them, what did you see, how did you see children being treated? Thank you.
じゃあ、はい、maybe I can start. I believe the Japanese government should sanction the Chinese government because of these, serious human rights violations. It doesn't. Japan does not have to recognize what is happening there is genocide in order to sanction the Chinese authorities who are responsible for those abuses. And then it is still, with the current laws and the policies, it is still possible for the Japanese government to sanction those responsible. But also it is very important that the Japan introduce laws such as what is called the Global Magnitsky Law, which is the law introduced in many democracies around the world already to sanction those responsible for serious human rights abuses. That's another step the Japanese government should take, not only to sanction those responsible in China, but also all human rights abuses around the world. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yes, you are right. And the Uyghurs and the Turkish people have very close ties, historically, linguistic, religious, everything. We have sharing same value. But unfortunately, as you said, so far, Turkish parliament Uyghur genocide motion was not approved. Several times, at least twice, opposition party brought Uyghur genocide motion to the Turkish parliament, but it was rejected because ruling party and some other parties rejected it. It is shame. We believe Turkish parliament must be one of the first parliament to recognize the Uyghur genocide because we have strong public support in Turkey. Turkish people, and because of the historical tie, support the Uyghur issue, knows the Uyghur issue, very concerned on the Uyghur genocide issue today. And the opposition and the civil society also very active. Unfortunately, Turkish parliament still not approves this Uyghur genocide motion, but we have to continue pushing this. We have to continue working advocacy on this. But however, recently we have seen some positive response. For example, just last week, during the 51st section of the Human Rights Council, Turkish ambassador in the United Nations at the Human Rights Council, he made very nice, very strong statement on the Uyghur issue. And President Erdogan also during the General Assembly in New York, and he also mentioned Uyghur issue, of course not very strong good enough, but also, however, he mentions the Uyghur issue. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Qelbinur.
Dehşetlik zulüm dedi sordunuz. Bu erler kampısı da yak ayollar kampısı olsun dehşetlik zulüm intayin köp. Çünkü ben özüm şuna şahit bolğan. Ben vaqt münasibetten qısqalı sözledim. Yani erler kampısı dehşetlik zulüm, ular 4 xil qiynaşlıq usuluna uçraydı.
So I think she didn't understand your question. Yeah, Qelbinur xanım, bu sual mendaqdi dedi ki sizlar jiq zulm, dahshat zulmga uchrabsiz. Balla haqida qandaq nimalar bo'ldi shuni deb.
Men o'zim shu Sharq Turkistonda boshlang'ich maktabda Xitoy til darsi o'qituvchisi bo'lgan 28 yillik tarixim ega. Shu lagerlar boshlangan.
So I was a teacher for 20 at elementary school for 28 years.
Lagerlar boshlangandan tortiblam bizning nurg'un o'quvchilarimiz tuyuqsiz yo'qolib ketdi.
After the setup of these camps, many of our children disappeared.
Keyin biz bularni anladikki, bularni yotoqlik maktab deb, ash kamp maktablarga olib ketganligini xabar topdik.
Later we found out that all these children who disappeared and from the schools were taken to boarding schools by Chinese government.
Hattoki yeslilarmi, yesli kamplarga aylanib ketgan.
So there is actually there is not normal kindergartens now. All the kindergartens turn to boarding schools for the Uyghur children.
Aşağıdaki ata-onalarni anglaydiq biz. Bolalar yotoqlik maktabda turayotganlar oylab, yillab bolalarni bir haqiqatan ko'rib baxmaydiganligini.
So actually they were separated forcibly from their parents. So I heard from many parents that they have not been able, although they were out of the camp, they were not able to see their children for weeks and months.
Thank you. I have a question online from Miss Minako Nakamura. She is freelance. It's a long question, but I will just read what she wrote. At what age did you experience forced intrauterine device, IUD, placement? And when were each of the three forced IUDs placed? All right, for translator?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the first part of the question.
Yeah, but xonimninki nimasi bor ekan, bir jurnalistninki savoli Qelbinur sizga. Deydiki, seninki bu ilaqa IUD, ayollarni ilaqa tug'mas qilish uchun ishiga yerlashtirilgan ilaqa nimaninki bu haqdagi o'zingning tajribasini nima qilib bersan.
Please let me ask the second part.
Yeah.
Buldu.
To'xtab turing.
What type of forced sterilization did you undergo at age 50? Was it a surgery to the fallopian tubes? It is the age of menopause when sterilization is no longer necessary. What did the concentration camps tell you about the reason for this surgery?
Deydiki, sen bayam dedin mecburi menilik tug'mas qilish operatsiyasi qildi deb. Siz deydi bu menopoz yoshida 50dan oshgan bir yoshda uninki qandaq nimishga sana uni majburiy qildi 50 yoshda o'zligidan to'xtaydigan nimaga. Ikkinchisi endi buni bir operatsiya bilan qildimi, qandaq operatsiya qildi deydi.
Buldu. Aldı bilan biz şu yerdeki ahalilar komitetinin uqtırışı var bizge tushirib bergan. Uqtirish shundan aniq yozilgan. Askartida alayda 18 yoshdan 59 yoshgacha tug'ut yoshidagi qiz ayollar sizga belgilab bergan o'ringa berib tekshirishga qatnashsiz deb.
So there are in every neighborhood there is a family committee. In these family committee very openly tell all the Uyghurs. There's instructions from all these family committees to all the Uyghur women aged between 18 and 59 that they have to go to the so they have to go regularly to this special hospitals they are assigned for these women. They have to go there for the and be checked.
Lekin biz bu uqtirishga asosan shu doktorxonaga berib ya uzuk soldırmız ya tug'maslik operatsiyasi qildırmız. Buni tanlash erkinligimiz yo'q.
So because of this instructions we have, all Uyghur women has to go to these hospitals to put IUDs or be sterilized. Yeah.
Uqtirishni aniq ta'kidlangan. Eğer bizning bu xizmatimiz moslashmay qolsangiz, bütün urug' tuqqanlaringizni o'zingizning hayotini do'g'i tikmang, saqchiqanligiga berib, tömür orunduk otursiz, yani yolbası orundukta dep eskertken.
And also there is a very clear threat in that instruction to us. If any woman who doesn't obey this and don't go to these hospitals for check, then you will go to the camps and you will sit at the electric chair. So this is at the very openly, it says in these instructions.
Yani bizi belgilep bergen doktorxana Ürümşehir Tenser rayonluq Çanglayuan. Mana bu şunun orni bu şerge berip toğmaslık operatsiyasiga uçurdum.
So this is the location of the hospitals that
Çanglayuan.
Changluyuan regional hospital. So I was I went to this hospital to be to be sterilized.
2019 yılı 5. ayının ahiri ben toğmaslık operatsiyası kılınğan vaqtimda 50 yaşta idim. Bu uqturishga asasen şu qilishga majbur boldum.
So it was I was the surgery happened on the end of the May 2019. At that time I was 50 years old. When in spite of that I was 50 years old, I had to go to the hospital to have that surgery.
Yani bu toğmaslık operatsiyasi bilan üzük saldırışning farqi bor. Üzük saldırgan vaqtingizda o'zingiz his qilasiz, bearam bo'lasiz, ham og'riydi.
So between the surgery, of course, of sterilization surgery and putting the IUD, there is two different things. If you put the IUD, you will have some pain.
Lekin bu to'g'maslik operatsiyasida siz kirgandan keyin belikingizga bir tal ukol urdi ekan. Andan keyin nima bo'lganini sezmaysiz, yarim soat
So
davomlashdimi?
in this sterilization surgery, so you are getting some kind of injection. So then you will not, you will lose your conscience, and then when you wake up, then you will find out that you have already,
O öyle iki doktor var, birisi çoğunrak doktor ayal, yani birisi sestra kız. Sizni karvan çıkıp yetin deydi, yatsız, okulunu urudu. Endeki ulanın faaliyet tüygenden keyin o'rningizdan turing debdi, sizga tap tatmasdan kechirsiz qonbek chiqib ketdi sizdan deb tam urib turdi, qo'lingiz bir qog'ozga shuni olib qaytisiz.
So in this hospital, in the room that the surgery is taking place, there is one doctor and there is the nurse, and they will put the injection on you, and you will lose your conscience. When you wake up, then they say, apologize, there was a lot of bleeding. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please let me ask a question. Just clarification. Are you here to complain about or make claim about human rights issue, or to demand independence from China? I mean, if China improve according to your request, human rights, is that okay to stay as you are, part of China? Or no matter what, you want independence from China, which means like almost 55% of China's land is lost. So are you here to demand independence? And for Southern Mongolian representative, if you become independent from China, are you going to unite with Mongolia, or you want to establish a new country? That's it. Thank you.
もしですね、独立が叶うというふうになったときに、その時にはモンゴルと統一をする。
Can you speak to the mic, please? Translation.
はい、先ほどの質問ですね。モンゴル、中国からの独立が叶うというふうになったときに、モンゴルとの統一という方向性が望ましいということなのか、あるいは新しい国家の樹立というところを目指しているのかというようなことを、先にも他の方にも質問されているので、その後で答えていただければと思います。
そうですね、もちろん独立できればという話なんですけれども、モンゴルは歴史的に何回も統一したモンゴルを作るために頑張ってきた歴史がありますね。例えば1911年清朝が滅びされた後、その後1945年でもう一回モンゴルが 閉じたモンゴルを作るために頑張った。しかし歴史はそうではなかったけど。ですからモンゴル人の心の中はやっぱりモンゴルは一つであるっていうのは、間違いないでしょう。でその前に南モンゴルの独立ですね。はい。
1951年と
1911年と1945年ですね。
ごめんなさい、一つ目1911年。Okay, so let me answer the South Mongolia situation. So our always wish is to become an independent nation, and we do have this notion of Mongolia as one. So, and then we have been having a repeated history of trying to become independent, but not really succeeding for long. The first attempt was in 1911, and the second was in 1945. And so I guess the primary goal is for the South Mongolia to become an independent nation, independent from China, and ultimately to unite Mongolia.
How about Uyghur and Tibet?
So regarding the Tibet, as I explained before, historically it is very important to emphasize that historically Tibet was an independent nation. Now with the change of the geopolitics and China occupied Tibet illegally in 1950s. And since then we have been struggling for the Tibetan independence. Now in the world, like European unions, where the people have to come together and stay. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan administration has proposed that history is something that is past. Now we have to look forward and see how we can live happily together, in which we have proposed a middle way approach. What is middle way approach? Middle way approach is getting away from the two extremes. That is, if China wants, what China is saying that Tibet has to be part of China. So, but we say that Tibet has been independent country, but if you want that Tibet to be a part of China, you should stop all those repression and atrocity and killing of the Tibetans in Tibet. If you stop all this atrocity, give us the freedom to practice our own religion and language, then it's okay, we stay with China. If you don't stop that, we will not be able to accommodate your request. So that's why important is that what His Holiness the Tibetan Administration emphasizes is that your European unions, it's a very big union. So if we all try to look at each other's welfare and common goal, there is a mini happiness or peace that we can achieve. If there is no European Union, there could be a mini war also. So in this way, our goal right now is that if China stops atrocities, repressions, and killing in Tibet, we are willing to stay with China. Otherwise, then another side is that we have to work on certain other way in which we have been proposing to the international community to support our struggle for the freedoms.
Thank you. Yes, please, Dolkun.
Well, Chinese government and officially calls this region is Xinjiang. Is Xin meaning is in Chinese language new, Jiang is the border. It is new border. It is means occupied country. It is occupied territory. So 1955, Chinese government guarantees Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. But unfortunately, since more than 60 years after guarantees autonomy, we have never seen real autonomy there. Politically, culturally, economically, all right has been continually violated by the Chinese government. Same as Tibet, same as Southern Mongolia. So now it is this discrimination and assimilation policy into genocidal policy. So, and this situation, I believe, is Turkestan people, Uyghur people, believe all is independent the option to end this is ongoing genocide. So I believe that Turkestan and want to be independent.
Thank you. Please. I will extend the time a little, a few minutes.
ちょっと日本語で質問します。土井先生から、まあ、
Your name,
新
please.
疆ウイグルのあとチベット、南モンゴル。今回はね、この人権問題はね、日本政府どう期待する、どういうふうにアピールする、お願いします。
Did you mention your name, please? Your name and affiliation, please.
名前をいただいてます。
王新中です。 東京の声の主催。
So I'm the representative of Tokyo no Koe, and then this question is to Ms. Doi. And regarding these three regions situation, what is the expectation you have of Japanese government in terms of their actions?
Yeah, thank you so much. First, as I said, I expect the Japanese government to support the resolution likely to be presented next week at the Human Rights Council to allow a Human Rights Council to receive and discuss the Bachelet Xinjiang report. I wish that Japan is not only going to support, but be a core member to co-sponsor this resolution. So not only on this Xinjiang issue, but on other ethnic, religious rights violations in China, as well as wider human rights violations in China, including freedom of expression, mass surveillance, and so on in wider China. That should be a serious concern for the Japanese government. And then, as I said earlier, one way for the Japanese government to take is to sanction those people responsible, and also publicly criticize the Chinese government to take those actions, and then work together with other governments to press China to stop these atrocities and abuses. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Thomas Sullivan, Associate Member. I have a question for Doi-san and Issa-san, if that's all right. Doi-san, just in connection with the last question, I just wanted to ask you, Japan seems to have taken a very strong position on Ukraine, but if you look at Myanmar and these three countries, they seem to have taken a less strong position. So could you perhaps explain that to us? And for example, Nakatani-san was recently appointed as a human rights advisor to the Japanese Prime Minister. What's he doing on this? And Issa-san, recently you talked about the reaction of the United Nations, but recently there was a Shanghai Cooperation Council meeting. And I wanted to ask you, what are your brothers and sisters in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan? What kind of support are they providing you with? And did they raise this issue at the SCO meeting?
Thank you. So it is encouraging that the Japanese government has taken some strong positions on, for example, crimes, war crimes in Ukraine. So, but it is also very important for the Japanese government to take strong positions on other serious rights violations, including, as you pointed out, the situation in China, Myanmar, and elsewhere. So it is disappointing that Japan doesn't still have a strong human rights policy in its foreign policy. And then the appointment, but I also see some struggles within the Japanese foreign policy circle. That there are some people who believes that there should be a stronger position, and then also other traditional schools which believes that Japan should have liberty to work along with abusive governments as well. So the appointment of Mr. Nakatani as the first Japan's human rights advisor is a welcoming sign by the Japanese government. And then Mr. Nakatani has been a proponent for the global Magnitsky Law introduction in Japan for some time already. But what is unfortunate is that once he was appointed to the government advisor, and then he is no longer taking strong position for the introduction of such human rights sanction law. So it is really important that the Japan's policy would be coordinated and then would stand on principles rather than patchy political decisions in order to develop its position as a leader as a Asian big democracy. Thank you.
Son.
Well, Shanghai Cooperation Organization was established in 1996, initiative by the China and Russia mostly, and Kazakhstan and the Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan as well. So one of the main purpose of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is targeted and the Uyghur movement in Central Asia, because in Central Asia country, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, there is more than 1 million Uyghur living in this country. So there was the Uyghur organization was active at that time, but after the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, there is no space for the political activism for the Uyghur organization. Only now the Uyghur can doing some cultural activism, and this is the limitation. So they are not allowed to demonstration or political conference, something like. So China used the Shanghai Cooperation Organization to try to control the Uyghur movement in the Central Asia. So this all countries, yes, you are right. The Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Uzbek is a brother. We share the same culture, same language. Particularly Uzbek language, Uyghur language is very similar. 95% same, is completely different. So, and the Kazakh, Kyrgyz also 70–80%. We can communicate each other without any interpreter. But unfortunately, today, this all country undermined and controlled by the China and the Russia. One side Russia, one side China. Recently, Chinese influence growing up because economic reason. This is most of them leaders of this country as the former communist leaders and a very corrupted country economically. So that's why very dependent of the Chinese money. So this our brother sister unfortunately support Chinese policy all the time. This time 51 sections of Human Rights Council and also some of them, particularly Kyrgyzstan, also support Chinese statement.
All right, thanks. Do you have a question? Yes, please. Quick one, please.
Hello, my name is Emi O'Connor from Nippon Television, and I'd like to ask you, Sidik-san, what have led you to the decision of speaking out about your traumatic experiences? I ask this because it must be quite difficult to do. Thank you.
Qelbinur ханым deydi sizga nima sabab bo'ldi, nima sababdan bu nima bu sirtqa chiqib bu Xitoyninki uyaga ko'rgan bilgilaringizni dunyoga aytishni va oshkorlashni qaror qildingiz deydi.
Şu vatanımız ya Türkistan'da azap çekivatkan, kırılıvatkan, zulüm çekivatkan şu Uygur halkımız özünün avazını çıkaramaydı, onda erkinliği yok. Ben özüm şu yerde şahit bulup süpütüm bilen, şunu öz gözümde kögen bir insan bulup süpütüm bilen, bunu ben bu sırk çıkandan keyin sükut yaşaşqa berdاشlık beremedim. Çünkü benim bu vicdanım, gururum, bu azapını içimge yutuşumge fakat berdاشlık beremedim. Özüm ben bu yer çıkandan keyin qattiq ağrıp kettim 3 ayga yaqin. Davolanıp anandan keyin oxiri men Muşu guvallıklarını...
Astarak yapısınız, ben çadım kullanmadım. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I witnessed a lot of atrocities, a lot of torture and torture of my people by the Chinese authorities in East Turkestan. So when I get out of there and came to the Europe, I decided to speak up, to let the people, to let the world know what's happening to the Uyghur people, because they don't have the chance, the opportunity to tell their story, to expose the Chinese atrocities. I felt it was my duty to do it. When I came, so when I when I came out, when I came to the Europe for the 3 months, I was sick. I couldn't do any activity because I was sick.
2020 yılı 1. aydan başlap, ben şu guvallıkını bergenden tatıp ta bugüne kadar bir gün toktap kalganım yok. Şununla özüm içimmi bir tügün yeşilip, özüm bir rahatlık his kalgandak aşna buldum.
So then, kaçanda dedin?
2020 yılı 1. aydan başladım.
So from January 2020, I started to speak up, and by speaking up, by telling the world what was happening in my homeland, so actually I relaxed. I'm very happy to do it now. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think no more questions, so this wraps up our event today. I appreciate you coming here and tell us about your issues. We would download the event today on our YouTube. Please follow up later this evening and watch the whole session again. And I would like to wish you very nice weekend and evening. But I don't know why I am the only one separated with this one, so I have to check with the management. But nothing about Corona. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I have this book, so 100 Atrocities of the Chinese Communist Party. So if anybody is interested, please, I have my friend's staff here. You can collect the book from here.